and I'm the co-founder of the Day by Day Foundation. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about our 2018 Voluntourism trip to Zambia. Now, I'm going to Zambia next year, and I'm looking to bring 10 adventure-loving, enthusiastic, and philanthropic-minded people to join me on the trip. Now, during this short presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Day by Day Foundation, show you some specific examples of how we're changing lives in rural Zambia, and then tell you about our 2018 trip and how to sign up and how to participate. Now, my trip last year was absolutely amazing and life-changing and gave me tons of opportunities to give back. And here's just a glimpse of an image that was taken from our trip. This is me trading my MLS soccer ball that I brought with me from the United States with a homemade soccer ball that these kids made. And I'm hoping that I can share experiences just like this with some of you. Okay, so for those of you who don't know about our foundation or haven't had a chance to look at our blog yet, our website yet, that's okay. I'll give you a little bit of background right now. So Candace and I started last year when we got married, and as we were planning for our wedding, we took a look at our lives together and decided we didn't need any more stuff. We didn't need a blender, we didn't need kitchenware, things like that, the traditional gifts that are typically given at a wedding. So instead of asking for gifts, we asked our guests to donate to our foundation instead. And we used that money to fund our first 3 projects in Zambia. And right after our wedding, we went on our honeymoon to Zambia. That was my first trip there to kick things off. So on the left-hand side, that's a picture of Candace and I during our wedding day. And on the right-hand side, that's a couple days after of Candace and I in Zambia, enjoying our honeymoon and volunteering. Now, Candace and I really wanted to make our foundation different, mostly because we don't agree with how larger foundations are operated. So we made Day by Day different. So instead of the traditional ways of doing things, we educate ourselves first about the local culture and communities before we actually start a project, unlike larger foundations. We also promote Zambians helping other Zambians instead of Americans directly helping Zambians. Now, none of our projects include money or handouts, and that's a big difference as well. And we don't build infrastructures that won't be used or conflict with the culture. What happens is a lot of traditional nonprofits will go in and build a school or build a hospital, and they won't be set up correctly, they won't match the culture, and they simply won't be used. So what we do is we hand select rural villagers that have no means but are forward thinkers and entrepreneurs at heart. And with the right resources, these individuals can create a huge change for not only themselves, not only their families, but for many in their village and many in their region. So we actually create opportunities for a new business to grow. With our model, we're able to build sustainable farms, water delivery systems, and educational projects for the cost of often less than of what your cell phone costs, what your new iPhone costs. We actually teach men and women to fish, and they teach others to do the same. So take Dennis, for example. We met Dennis in 2016, and he was really hurting. He and his family were really hurting. And this is a quote from Dennis. He said that they went to bed on empty stomachs. They couldn't afford to send their kids to school, and he was ashamed. And with just a small investment, $780 American, we were able to buy Dennis 2 head of cattle, fertilizer, seed, and a plow. And after 8 months, he was actually able to create something of his own, make a profit, feed his family, send his kids to school, and use the seed to start a farm next year. And this is a picture of Candace and Dennis shaking hands. He's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and this is kicking off the project. So we're very, very proud of Dennis, and we're very proud of how we're operating. I think if we went with a larger operation model like a lot of nonprofits do, this maybe wouldn't have worked. Okay, so this is a couple more pictures of Dennis. On the left-hand side, you can see that his crops were barren. He really didn't have any crops. They all died. So we brought in the plow, the cattle. And on the right-hand side, after 8 months, you can see his wife here is shucking some corn, and this is their large supply of corn now. So very, very successful story. We're very, very proud of Dennis and what we've accomplished with him. So for those of you who don't know where Zambia is, it's to the south of the equator, south of Lake Victoria. It is a third world country. 69% of people live below the poverty rate. Over half the population doesn't have clean water. Unfortunately, 20% of people have contracted HIV. 14% of children die before the age of 5. That is pretty high, considering the United States is about 2%. Government corruption is widespread. And if you are a Zambian, a local Zambian in a village like Dennis, you have a good idea for a business or just want to get back on your feet, it's almost impossible because the banks require collateral, which most people don't have, and their loans range from 30 to 41% interest, which is worse than the worst type of loan sharking here in the United States. Okay, so what are we doing on our trip? First of all, you will see sustainable projects in action. You will see projects like Dennis. You will help with a brand new project, which I'm really excited to talk about here in a second. You will be making a real difference. You will be working hands-on with each other, with me, with villagers to accomplish goals, which is really great. You will get an absolutely authentic experience. We will be immersed in the culture. No trip is complete in Africa without seeing wildlife, so we're definitely going to do that. And because we have a small number of people, we are guaranteed to have a lot of fun. All right, so who's invited? So this is not your typical tourism trip. If you're looking to get on a big tour bus to travel around different places in Zambia, this is definitely not the trip for you. We look more like the picture on the bottom. We get our hands dirty. We go on adventures. So I'm looking for 10 motivated philanthropists like yourselves to join the trip. People who are adventure driven, people who are willing to actually work and play hard. In order for this to work out, we do have an application process, which I'll get to at the end of this presentation. So if this does appeal to you, if this type of trip does appeal to you, please stick around and fill out the application. And our motto is no tourists, quote unquote, allowed. All right, so when are we going? So when I first thought of Zambia and Africa, I thought of extremely hot temperatures, extremely humid temperatures, a lot of rain, and mosquito-ridden. And in reality, in June and July, it's actually quite the opposite. It's much like Denver, Colorado, where I'm from, where it is sunny skies, but it is not too hot. In fact, the average temperature is around 55, 60 degrees in the morning, and it gets up to about 80, 85 during midday, and at night it's very cool. And there's absolutely no rain. So I prepared for rain, and there was none. And because there's no rain and temperatures are a lot cooler, there's a lot less mosquitoes. So June and July is the absolute best time to go. You can see the graphs on the right. So during this time, we're going to be going from June 11th to the 23rd. And during this time, we're going to be 10 days in the field, which includes 4 nights at a hotel, 2 nights at a safari, because again, everybody who goes to Africa should be on a safari, and then 3 nights camping, which is my favorite thing to do there. All right, so what are we going to see? So on day 1, we're actually going to fly into Lusaka, which is the capital city of Zambia, and we are going to immerse ourselves in the culture. We are going to go to the different markets. We're going to stock up on supplies, materials, and we are going to see how business is actually operated. So that's a picture of me on the right in a local Zambian market. It is absolutely crazy, but it is fun and it is a good experience to be around. So you will see the markets for sure. And then we are going to stop at one of our other projects, which is the Nambazunga Primary School Garden Project in Kabwe. So what we did is we gave this school resources to build a garden, very similar to what we did with Dennis. And the kids actually participated in growing the garden. They grow a lot of cabbage. And so we use this as not only an educational tool, but we use this to feed the kids. And the surplus, we are actually selling to get school supplies and kitchen equipment and things like that. So it's a fully sustainable garden, which we're really excited about. So we're going to spend 2 days there, and we are going to inspect the project, and we're also going to hang out in the school with teachers and the students, and this will be a lot of fun. All right, then we're going to travel to the Shamayoyo village, where we installed a sustainable water tank. And so on the left-hand side, you're going to see a pretty barren garden, which died, unfortunately. And the founder, Charles of Shamayoyo, has about 54 people to take care of. Unfortunately, all his crops died, so he was in pretty bad shape. Couldn't afford to feed his family, so we put a water tower in, which is near a river, so it's sustainable. And the water tower now irrigates his crops. And on the right-hand side, you can see a couple months after, Charles has full heads of cabbage coming up. He's able to feed his family, feed the people he takes care of, and use the extra for purchasing other materials throughout the day. All right, and then in Shamayoyo, we're also going to start our new pig and goat farm project. This is in the planning phase right now, but we're actually going to participate in building a portion of this. So we have found 5 additional people to help out. This will be our biggest project yet, and we are hoping to make 10 families fully sustainable by the end, or by the middle to 2018. So basically, we are going to get pigs and goats, and these folks are going to be using them for food. They're going to be using them to sell, to breed, and this is also going to be fully sustainable, meaning the waste will be used for compost and for fuel. So pretty excited about that. We'll be able to participate and build an actual project from the ground up, which is awesome. Now, my favorite part of this trip, we will be camping in the village of Shamayoyo. So this is a picture of our tent right in the middle of the village. It is a great place to be. The locals are incredibly nice. We will be eating and cooking with the locals. We'll be sleeping in tents, all of which will be provided by us, so you don't have to bring any of that. And we will be fully immersed in the culture, spend 3 nights there. And the stars, you will never see such good stars as in the village of Shamayoyo. So very excited about that. And throughout this whole journey, we will be trying to find additional entrepreneurs for future projects. So everybody that is invited on the trip will be able to participate. So if you're walking around different villages, different markets, and you see somebody with a good idea and they are forward thinking, this is our opportunity to maybe find somebody else to sponsor over the next couple of years. So this is just a picture of a gentleman that I wish we could find again. We have not been able to get a hold of him, but he makes shoes out of old tires and old scraps, and he sells them to local villagers. So this is just one example of a future potential entrepreneur that you can help us find. All right, and no trip is complete without staying a couple days in a national park and at a lodge. So this is a picture on the right of Candace, where we are on a safari, and you will see elephants, you will see lions, you will see zebras and everything else. And so we will be staying 2 nights at the Kango Lodge, which is right in the middle of Zambia. It is beautiful, and you will get the full experience of Africa here. All right, here's just a few more pictures that we took last year. On the left is a lion, actually after getting into a fight with a warthog. I think the warthog got the best of her this time. And I love hippos. They're one of my favorites, so I threw a picture of hippos on there. But you will be seeing all of this at the lodge. So pretty excited for that. And we will be playing pickup soccer. Remember that soccer ball that I showed you earlier? This is pretty common all over Zambia. So we will jump out, we will participate, or just observe. And it's a lot of fun to hang out with the local communities and people. This is their pastime, so we are going to embrace that. And then nothing like Zambian sunsets and sunrises. We have some really good ones here in Colorado, but it is an absolutely beautiful country, and we will experience all of it. And then, of course, the humans, the people are so incredible, especially the kids. I mean, look at these kids. They have the best smiles you will ever see. So we will be hanging out with all these fine people, working with them, and these kids are going to be following us around, play with them and hang out with them. And the adults are pretty amazing too. So just wonderful, wonderful humans in Zambia. All right, so how do we do? A lot of the common questions are, how do we do this and how do we stay safe? Well, the thing to know about Zambia, it's a very, very safe place to be. So, of course, there are things like polio, yellow fever, malaria, and so on, but we're able to get shots for those. So we're able to mitigate that. Terrorism is very low. In fact, it's non-existent. Political violence and unrest is extremely low. There's obviously petty crime. There's crime everywhere. But when you get out to the villages, like we're going to be, we're not going to see any of that. Lusaka is the worst part of it, and there's really only small theft and pickpockets. And if you actually look at the data, and you look at the murder rates and violent crimes, Brazil is number 1, 14 is the United States, and Zambia is 24, and that's basically skewed by Lusaka. So it's a very, very safe place to be, and I enjoy every bit of it. And so another question is, how do you not get sick? Well, we are not going to be eating at places like this. So this is in rural Zambia. They have open markets. That is a pig head on the left-hand side. We won't be eating there. We will be stocking up in Lusaka with clean food, clean water. We will bring some food with us, dehydrated, and we will stay safe. And we will also use water filtration systems and so on to not get sick. So there's no worried about, you shouldn't worry about that. And how do we keep this all so, I guess, how do we immerse ourselves in the culture is another question. And how do we make all this happen? How do we stay safe? And the answer is this fine gentleman here. His name is Chaleshi. He is the project manager for us at the Day by Day Foundation. He makes sure that all the projects are kicked off. He is just a wonderful human. He's a loving father and husband. He's an entrepreneur himself. He's an engineer, and he's really good with his hands. He actually builds houses and things like that. And he's a philanthropist and a forward thinker. So he's going to be our guide. He's going to be our host, our interpreter, and our protector. So he's going to guide us around Zambia. He will tell us where to go, where not to go, when to get out of the car, when not to get out of the car. And he's just a wonderful person to be around. So that's a picture of us on the right-hand side, our last trip. And you guys will definitely enjoy hanging out with him. All right, so how much does this cost? That's the magical question. So typically, if you look online, if you try to get a Voluntourism trip, something like this, where you get the authentic experience, a small group, typically costs $10,000. But your cost will be $6,500 all in. That includes airfare. That includes all the travel, all the gas, all the food, camping equipment, everything, all included, all in $6,500. There is an application process for this, so please fill that out. There is a non-refundable deposit of $500 to reserve your spot, and that is how you get in the trip. I believe it is a huge value, and you will get so much out of this. So I'm really hoping that you guys are interested. And if you have any questions, please take a second to like our Facebook page and ask any questions you have there. Shoot me a message, or you can email me, but I typically respond within a few hours, and I'll get back to you with any questions that you have. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you for participating, and I hope you're excited about our trip. I know I am, and I hope to see you soon.